Hi. Life skills are one of the more subtle things in our lives. They're omnipresent and play a very important role. Now, we were supposed to talk about life skills, but we decided to go watch Iron Man 3 instead. Again. But like I said, they're present everywhere. And let's face it, there's nothing better than RDJ playing Tony Stark becoming a life skills teacher. So let's begin. Start with body language, presentation. And it's easily and arguably one of the most important life skills that there are. It's the first thing that a person will observe. And it's not just limited to vision, which would be the posture and the way you're walking, but also a lot of other things like the way you talk, which basically represents your character. You are presenting yourself to the world, to the other person. And there are a lot of things involved. A very important thing when body language is involved is, but if I was talking to a person, I'd be making eye contact with them. And coming to focus. Focus is a really important thing. And if you want to succeed in anything, the goal can be as big as, say, being Tony Stark and finding out who the real Mandarin is, to something very trivial, like putting up a poster that right away in your bedroom. You need to be focused. And how do you get to focus yourself? Well, it's simple. You got to remove the noise, clear up the clutter. You have to remove all the distractions and be focused and work your way towards success. Next up, emotional intelligence. And though at first sight it may not seem like so, but emotional intelligence is actually a very important part of critical analysis and decision making. And if I had to sum it up, emotional intelligence is basically you don't want your emotions to overpower your actions. जोश में होश नहीं रहना है. And basically what you want is you have emotions, and then there is a thing called logic. Sometimes you have to keep the emotions aside and think logically. And sometimes you have to take emotions into consideration. So finally, resilience. Resilience simply means not giving up. Life is going to be full of setbacks, and you have to be resilient enough. You must not give up. And that is shown throughout the movie in various instances. Tony Stark does not give up. He is resilient. And that's exactly what you should have as a general motto in life as well. Be resilient and keep going on forward.
Tony Stark is a socially responsible and empathic billionaire with exceptional leadership skills and management skills. He's active as a vigilante even after the traumatic incident in New York. The movie is set in Los Angeles, where a random terrorist named Mandarin carries out a string of bombings, killing multiple civilians and Stark's bodyguard, Happy Hogan. Now, Happy Hogan was probably more than a bodyguard to Stark. So, to show empathy, Stark visits him in the hospital and makes sure that he gets the best care possible, and makes sure that the nurse takes care of him and provides him with everything that he needs. After that, Stark issues a televised threat to Mandarin and his men, due to which Mandarin's men end up at Stark's house. Stark's leadership qualities are shown. After issuing the threat, Mandarin's men end up at Stark's house, obviously, and during the attack, Stark manages to save Pepper by instantly showing his leadership skills and transferring the ownership of the suit to Potts. Now, generally, Stark seems like a socially responsible and altruistic person because he cares about the public. He's constantly working on his suits to make sure that everybody is safe. He puts others before himself. That shows his altruism. And as far as Stark and Potts' relationship is concerned, there was obviously some friction present. Now, this friction was due to the fact that Pepper thought that Stark was spending too much time on his suits, which was kind of a right thing, and Stark thought so too, and therefore he ended up initiating the Clean Slate Protocol, which destroyed all his suits, which indeed enabled him to win Pepper back.
In the movie, different characters show different qualities, like Tony Stark, aka Iron Man. He shows qualities like analysis and decision making. When Tony's house was destroyed by a terrorist named Mandarin, Tony was stranded in a city 2000 miles from his house with his Iron Man suit not working, and the media thought he was dead. But Tony analyzed the situation very beautifully and remained undercover so that he could gather all the information about the terrorist organization and destroy it for good. In another scene, when Tony's fiancée Pepper Potts was injected with a serum that could kill her, Tony decided to destroy all his Iron Man suits so that he could devote all his time and cure Pepper. Tony Stark is also considered as a master in handling criticism. Both in Iron Man 3 and its prequel, Tony Stark is criticized by the media and the government for having a suit far more advanced than today's technology. But he shuts all his haters and criticizers by showing clips that how other people trying to copy his suit fails very badly. And he tells he's not a threat to the country but even a bigger asset by saving the world at many instances. He's also criticized by Pepper, his fiancée, for not devoting his time to her but devoting all his time to his Iron Man suits. But at last, when Pepper needs him the most, he destroys all his suits and devotes all his time to Pepper. Not only Tony Stark, but even other characters in the movie show different life skills or qualities. Like, there was a scene when many people were falling out of an airplane and Tony had to save them all. But he couldn't do that as he couldn't lift 12 people at once. So, with cooperation and teamwork, they all grabbed one another and they made a human chain by which Tony lifted them all and he safely landed them in water.
Two major life skills, coping with setbacks and adaptability, go hand in hand, and Iron Man 3 showed us how to do it the Tony Stark way. The world views Tony Stark as a billionaire in a suit of armor, but Iron Man 3 is till date the most realistic superhero representation ever. Why? Because Tony went through anxiety attacks and post-traumatic stress disorder throughout the course of the movie. And to top that, a terrorist organization called the Mandarin bombed his mansion in Malibu, which was followed by a turn of events which led to Tony Stark being found in Rose Hill, Tennessee, 2,000 miles away, with the one thing that he thought he could depend on, his suits, running out of power. Now, so what does Tony Stark do in the freezing cold of Tennessee with nothing but his wit and his will to help him survive? A good observation would be that Tony focuses on solutions to his problems rather than panicking and complaining as I would do. So what he does is he drags his suit, breaks into a house, trying to repair the suit and giving himself first aid, where he encounters a kid who was the resident of that house named Harley Keener, a 10-year-old boy. Which brings me to my next life skill, communication. You need to know the mindset of the other person in order to obtain something from them. So Tony dealt with this kid gently, but at the same time he was commanding enough to not let the kid take advantage of his situation. There was another instance in the movie when Tony required a heavy communication satellite for an objective, which coincidentally belonged to a fan of his. And so Tony used his celebrity follower relationship to manipulate this person in a positive manner and used it to his advantage. And there is another defining trait of Tony Stark, which is his awareness when it comes to information technology. And this goes hand in hand with adaptability, and this is observed when Tony infiltrates the antagonist's house with nothing but non-lethal weapons which were made from products bought at a hardware store. And this infiltration was done without his Iron Man suit. So take the suit away, Tony Stark is still a genius billionaire playboy philanthropist. But going deeper into his character, we see that what actually makes him Iron Man is his versatility, his ability to cope with setbacks, his effective communication, and the best of his traits being his ability to deal with technology and adapting to the given situation, or we can say that his temperament when the odds are unfair. And that makes the movie Iron Man an inspiration, and the character of Tony Stark played by Robert Downey Jr. a role model for all of us.